It's a bizarre story that just about everyone has an opinion on, and it seems the opinion is widespread. That Midwestern couple that sunned in Acapulco while their young children stayed home alone did a terrible thing. But are they alone? Or are there unattended children behind many doors in our neighborhoods, even your house? When to leave the children on their own? That's a big question that every parent grapples with. We now know one couple that apparently got it wrong. And as Bob Brown tells their story, it may help you to figure out how to get it right.
I just think that just being alone can make the noises sound more scarier and like everything that you do much more scarier.
Not even about hearing noises, just having the fact of not being around your parents just sometimes scares people. It scares me, really.
I just have one question. Why? Even if they couldn't pay for their children, why would they go somewhere far away and just leave them there and leave the kids there worried the whole time?
What triggered the comments from these school children in New York was a chilling story of two other kids who were left home alone in this neighborhood of Kane County, Illinois, an area where the average household income is more than $45,000 and the average home is worth $100,000. In this house, according to charges filed in Kane County, 9-year-old Nicole and 4-year-old Diana Shu were left alone while their parents went here to a hotel in Acapulco, Mexico, where they spent part of a week-long Christmas holiday trip in a $30 a night room. The parents, David and Sharon Shu, were arrested on their return flight and taken past jeering crowds at Chicago's O'Hare Airport.
Did they ask about the kids at all?
No, they did not.
They pleaded not guilty this week to criminal charges that included felony child abandonment and thus far have been refused permission to see their children again. The world learned about this case because only a day after the Shus left, the two children filled a bathtub to overflowing, causing an electrical short circuit that set off a smoke alarm that prompted Nicole to seek help from neighbors. The seclusion in which the Shus have now placed themselves since being released on bail, refusing to discuss their case, isn't much different, according to neighbors, from the way they lived before.
They never tried to blend in with the neighborhood. They were real to themselves. If they can't take care of their children, what are these people really like? What really is going on?
The cardboard that covered the windows when the girls were left alone is still there. Police say Mr. and Mrs. Shu wrote instructions about preparing cereal and TV dinners, but left no phone numbers where they could be reached. As baffling and shocking as the Shu case is, it is important because it has focused attention on the sad statistics that underlie it. If you want to be staggered by the sheer numbers involving criminal neglect of children, Los Angeles alone reported more than 50,000 cases last year, separated into categories ranging from severe neglect to one called caretaker absence. Wherever it happens, the results can be devastating. 5 children dead in a Connecticut apartment fire after being left alone for just a few minutes. 4 others, left to be supervised by a 9-year-old boy, died in a Maryland fire. But in their own way, the statistics from typical families are also dramatic, according to a study done by the Child Welfare League in Washington. Spokesperson Joyce Johnson.
It showed that 42% of children aged 9 and under were left alone to care for themselves, occasionally, if not regularly.
It is evidence that even good parents often cannot help but confront the questions involved in leaving children home alone.
Now, there are some people who are drug and alcohol abusers who leave their children unattended. But most children that are left alone are because of their parents' economic status.
If I was left alone, I would feel for a long time, I would feel kind of worried and saying, when are they going to come back? When are they going to come back?
These kids, who, like kids around the country, have discussed news of the Shu case, are from the Adults and Children in Trust program at the Cathedral Church of St. John the Divine in New York. Their families have seen that they are supervised. So they demonstrate, if anything, how vulnerable even kids with caring parents feel when they spend a few minutes by themselves.
What do you think might happen? What are you worried about?
I kept thinking that something would like come out from under my bed or under the couch and come and get me.
You could get kidnapped. Many bad things could happen to you. Anything could happen, anything, especially when you're home alone.
Among both kids and grown-ups, there is virtually unanimous agreement that the Home Alone movies, in which an 8-year-old fends for himself after being unintentionally abandoned, shouldn't be taken as anything other than the popular fantasies they are.
Hello.
Dr. Sandra Kaplan is a child psychiatrist at North Shore University Hospital.
Most 8-year-olds are not capable of being left alone, and even though they might like to cope the way this child did cope in the film by being so successful, most children are not capable at 8 of being successful.
Does anybody think the movie was very realistic?
No. Yeah. Being left alone, like for a week or something like that, is a very serious issue, and they shouldn't make jokes about it.
Fantasies aside, these kids believe that parents who deliberately leave young children unattended should be made to consider the ramifications.
They should go to certain therapy things where they talk about you. Why'd you leave your kids? Don't you worry if someone breaks in. Don't you worry if they don't know how to turn the oven on. Don't you worry if someone gets burned. Don't you worry at all.
Children left alone did not know how to cope in normal situations. If someone came to the door to make a delivery, or a salesman came to the door, they opened the door to strangers, or they answered the telephone and gave out pertinent information on the whereabouts of the family.
Those problems are so common that people who provide social services now feel bound to deal with them. Here in the same county where the Shoes live, the Red Cross sponsors a seminar, part of a national program called Home Alone, that teaches children what to do in various situations.
The doors are locked just like they're supposed to be. You go inside, you start to do your thing, whatever it is, and all of a sudden, there's a knock on the door. Well, what do you do when someone knocks on your door? Sandy.
When I hear someone knocking on the door, first of all, I ask who it is.
This classroom exchange led up to one of the most basic of all recommendations on child safety.
Don't open the door.
Here are some
Know your
others.
phone number? Tell me all together.
911.
What happened?
Remembering that 911 is for emergencies is crucial.
Just tell me. Who's going to answer?
Children should also know how to reach their absent parents. They should know what to do in case of fire and what to say when they answer the phone. And kids should never tell strangers their parents aren't home. Our panel also suggested leaving safe snacks and meals that avoid the risk of fire.
They should make an easy breakfast, like cereal. You know, you don't need to use the oven to make cereal.
Like, say back in old times when they had a volunteer fire department, I think that they should have, like, volunteer babysitters.
The experts couldn't agree more.
And I think it's very important that in our communities, we develop networks of parents helping each other.
When is a parent breaking the law by leaving a child? State laws differ, but one standard is that children must be able to handle the roles involved in being left unattended. Are they emotionally secure? Can they be responsible for the safety and security of the home, not to mention their own safety? Can they be responsible for the care of younger siblings? There's no magic age where those abilities suddenly take hold, but a general rule of thumb is that a child should be at least 9 or older.
I would recommend that children under 10 never be left alone longer than an hour or 2, and that children under 10 only be left alone if they understand how to reach their parents and aspects of personal safety and are not fearful of being left alone for short periods of time.
For the children who are the topics of those rules and discussions, ranging from election year debates to the shoe case in Illinois, no explanation from any point of view can overcome being alone and unprepared and frightened. Adults talk. Children feel.
Whether your parents leave you or not, the kids still love their parents, even though their parents did something very wrong.
Makes it all the sadder. 42% of children are left alone for some time during the day. That's an amazing number. So many of these are the latchkey kids where their parents work, which is why schools want extended days, or parents want extended days and extended time.
That's one of the things that
centers.
experts universally recommend, because the consequences are so serious. The University of Southern California did a study fairly recently that showed that the children who are at greatest risk are children who are left alone to take care of themselves starting in elementary school. They're more likely to be stressed out, angry, nervous. They're more likely to smoke. They're more likely to drink alcohol. Now, under the right circumstances, when the child is old enough and mature enough and knows all the rules, they can learn to be more self-reliant. So that's a positive aspect. But
What about the children of the parents who went to Acapulco?
Well, they're still in foster care and will be apparently until the case is decided.
While their parents are being investigated. It's just a statistic that's staggering. Thank you, Bob. We'll be right back.
Was it a crime of passion?
Rebecca Carlson, you're